Hi, and thank you for joining us today on the Road to Recovery. I'm your host, Ronda Jackson, serial entrepreneur and small business advocate. And today we have the pleasure of joining us, Miss Robin Billups, the connector, ladies and gentlemen, of the Billups Group. Thank you for joining us, Robin.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. So for those of you, that don't know Miss Robin, her resume, when I say it extends from East Coast to West Coast from a national perspective, her participation in the supplier diversity community, her engagement with nonprofits, and I know I'm missing some stuff. So Robin, if you'll just tell us a little bit more about you and maybe the Billups Group, please.
Yeah. After spending a good 30 years in the conventional sector and on the commercial side, in corporate America, really, I ended up moving into a consulting practice by accident. Most of everything that we do is by accident. You kind of plan, but things happen and it leads you a certain place. So I created this small boutique consulting practice basically to help people understand what they don't know that they don't know about entrepreneurship. I had an opportunity creating supplier diversity for U.S. Bank after spending 20 plus years in commercial real estate construction financing. Had an opportunity to create that program and learn so much about what happens behind the curtain in these corporations and in these businesses. And so what I try to do is share that information. You know, with 30 plus years of experience, I'm a seasoned person. And so I got stripes on my back. And I think that it's my job and my mission to help folks understand what they don't understand that goes on behind that curtain.
And that's part of today's dialogue. And one of the major reasons why you're invited me, because invited here today is because of your global view of the world, of, best practices within organizations, as organizations view us as, business owners. So for you emerging and established business owners that are out there that are looking to reposition yourself, right? Looking to navigate the road to recovery and understand better trajectory and where you're headed, this is the conversation that you want to tune in on. So Robin, one of the ways that I like to start the show is I like to ask guests, what's one word you would use to describe now where we are?
There are a lot of them, but my favorite word is implement. No matter what goes on, you have to implement. So we're going to say implement.
I like that word. And it's so actionable. I like that.
Yes.
That you are in motion. I like that.
Very much
so. What would you say? Okay, so then to implement best practices in this conversation, where should we start? Where should we look as we're trying to navigate the road to recovery?
Well, I think it's critically important for a business owner, entrepreneur to do a self-assessment. Look at your full plethora of offerings, your marketing material, your team. You need to self-assess where you are. Don't look at your competition as competition. Look at them as a benchmark. These are benchmarks that give you an opportunity to see where you fit and where you need to make adjustments.
Okay, so we're looking at the industry as well as others that are participating in it. And are we using that as maybe gauges and markers if we're on this road, right? We're using
no question about it. Here again, it's like I told my son, I said, remember, I'm 25 years older than you. So I have anyone that's a day older than you can teach you something, right? And so wisdom and knowledge comes with time. And so you learn from your competition. You learn from those companies that are doing really well, and you're wondering how they're doing it. A lot of times when I interact with people, the first thing I say to them is, I'd like to spend 15 minutes with you gaining insight and guidance. I don't want to talk contract. I don't want to talk anything other than tell me what put the fire in your belly. Tell me what gets you busy every day and gets you up every day, because every day you're not feeling like it, And so again, I think it's the idea of looking at the competition and looking internally to see what adjustments you need to make.
I like that. And I like the fact that we are, holding that mirror up to ourselves and using other industry partners or competitors. You're also, what I've learned is that there's two things people teach you, right? They teach you how to be and they teach you how not to be.
Correct.
So you also want to be aware of those lessons as well as you're looking at that.
Correct.
So then once we have that assessment and we, kind of have a gauge on where our strengths are and where we're going, what do we need to do next?
Well, I think the next piece then is to prepare. You really have to put down some kind of strategic plan, but before you get there, do a little bit of due diligence. Set up some meetings with individuals who are your champions and your sponsors. Set up with some meetings with individuals that you don't even know. They don't know anything about you, don't even know anything about your industry. So you're gathering information, you're completing your due diligence, and you're preparing to put together a plan to go forward. And doing the assessment and laying out and doing that preparation, that due diligence. How many people don't read Bloomberg, don't look at Yahoo Finance, don't look at these newsletters and websites. And the other piece to me is really, really critical as we move forward in this global economy. Get out of your lane. If you're African American, if you're Black, why are you not active with the Asian Business Association? Why are you not? Where are your Latino friends? Where are your Native American friends? Because we've been in a global economy since baby Jesus was born.
Yes. Yes. No, I like how you pointed that out, because also if we operate in these silos, one, we're missing out on a lot of information.
No question.
There are things that don't filter and trickle all the way down all the times, and or the timeliness of getting it. So I know that, sometimes when you're looking at bidding opportunities or RFPs, by the time it hits the streets, it's sometimes too late. But there are organizations and community groups that are doing forecasts and finding out this information ahead of the curve so you can prepare and better equip yourself for responding. So I like that you pointed that out.
Well, and the other part to it, Rhonda, is this: if you ask, people are either going to say yay or nay. And I'm one of those people. You're not going to give me a no. You're going to give me a maybe. Can I come back next week? Is there another better time? My email always said provide optional dates and times that fit your calendar, and I'll send you a meeting notice. And I'm only asking for 15 minutes.
Yes.
And you better be prepared to answer to the call of the question, or to have your question, your most, or this individual who can actually bring you forward, that type of thing.
Yeah, and help you. So we're prepared. We've got our plan. We've engaged with someone like yourself for some guidance. And so then what's next? Where do we go from here?
The next thing is, I think it's critically important to implement, and part of that is I always tell my clients, look at your client base. Are you recruiting, engaging, and retaining them? Because it's a lot easier to do business with people that you're already doing business with than to go find a new client. So that's the first piece. Are you servicing the existing clients that you have? Have you asked them for referrals? Have you asked them to introduce you to someone? Because if you're doing a fantastic job, they literally will champion and sponsor for you. And so again, I think it's critically important to get busy, to lay out a plan and work it.
So what I didn't hear you say was to do a 3,000 person email campaign.
Oh, no.
I did not hear you say that.
No. And you've heard this from 12 million supplier diversity people. People they're concerned about nobody got back to me. Well, did you make yourself a priority? Because did you come to them with some information that they didn't know? One of the biggest secrets for me when I first got into supplier diversity, a man called me and said, Miss Billups, I understand that the bank has bought a bank in New Mexico. They have 8 branches and the signs are going to need to be changed. He just gave me some information that I didn't have, right? No. So now when we put out a request for that service, he's going to be at the top of the list. Right. So your mission is to do your due diligence so that you're either going to entreat them for something wonderful that they just did, or you're going to tell them something that they don't know because they're having to cover too much territory. Right. So the mission is, it's a give and take. It has to be a give and take.
Right. But I hear this is beyond value, because in some of the other videos that are linked below, we talked about creating your value, but you're also helping people understand your role in the marketplace and where to refer you or where to assign you. Correct. To help make that connection.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. And so I like the number 7. 7's a complete number in the Bible. I was born in the 7th month as well too. Okay. So you look at your first 7 suppliers, right? That's existing. And if you don't have 7 existing, you keep 7 in the queue, be it new, existing, prospective clients. You do your due diligence on them. You create an interaction with them so that you can assess whether there's a fit.
Yes.
And the critical part to me for entrepreneurs is to understand that your first interaction is not going to be a contract. One of my colleagues from Johnson & Johnson used to say all the time, we're already married to a contractor. So what you want me to do, cheat on them with you? So your mission is to find out, do they buy? You should already know whether they buy what you're buying because you did your due diligence. So now that you've affirmed that they buy what you're selling, Now it becomes a thing of when does that contract open and what does the vetting process look like, right? And I think that people tend not to want to get into the procurement process of this whole supply chain. So from the standpoint of used to start my workshops out by talking about the glossary of the industry. You know, where does procurement sit? It sits in the risk aversion silo of business in any company. They report all the way up to the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, the chief down. So when you're talking to them, you need to be talking about, you have to be solution driven.
Right.
I have a solution. I've looked at your this. I understand that. And so what I'm trying to find out is, when does that opportunity open so I can prepare myself for the next time?
Be available, right, for that contract expiration. The
Correct.
other thing that I really like that you're going with this is the onus and the responsibility that it gives us as business owners. So again, totally away from the waiting on someone to call me back, I
Correct.
am providing you information and opportunities to engage with me or to be the solution for the problem that I source, that you're either
Correct.
predicting that that client is going to have, or that client is having and they don't even realize. So
Correct.
I it's almost like you're creating the need, right, as you're approaching and talking to them.
Well, you know, and if you're bringing them, you know, think about it. If you have a supplier that you haven't contracted with, but they're reaching out to you and they're giving you information and they're introducing you to something new, they're bringing value to the relationship that they're building with you.
Right.
So now when people say, well, you want to be top of mind, well, you automatically become top of mind because they were like, oh, right, I remember Robin told me about XYZ. It's almost literally like I owe her, right? You know, it's kind of like you're putting them in a position to say, when this comes up, she's going to be the first person that I'm going to contact, right? You know, that type of thing. When I fell into supplier diversity in 2006, I love commercial real estate. I am a deal junkie. But when I turned 50, I knew that there was such thing as age, race, and sex discrimination. So it gave me an opportunity to find some new marketable skills. And that's my other favorite word. Your mission in life is to obtain marketable skills.
Right. And that's a
and marketable skills means then that you will get paid. You're not having to worry about negotiating your money because you're bringing a skill set that's bringing a solution to the procurement department.
Okay. So as we retool,
Mm-hmm.
and we become a value added resource. That
Mm-hmm.
was the word. Those were the words that I was pulling from the conversation that you just had.
Yes.
What's something actionable that we can do as business owners as we, get our arms around the preparation, the business assessment, and the implementation? What's our next actionable step?
I think the next logical step, we're back to as we started when we've had conversations. You have to stay ready because you don't know when the opportunity is going to come. I remember I met a supplier. He said it took him 7 years to get McDonald's as a client. Mm-hmm. But he used one of my tactics. He would always send them a note to entreat them if they were sponsoring something. And I will send a note in a minute and say, thank you for sponsoring XYZ. Oh, by the way, if you have any seats available, I'd love to be your invited guest. So that means you're going to end up at table number 1, table number 2, table number 3, and folks are going to think you're all in like Flynn because you're sitting at that table. Well, you just made an invitation for yourself,
Right. Right.
So I think that the actionable plan is to get ready, stay ready, assess your client base. Look at where, I used to do a workshop for WeBank called Get In Where You Fit In. Mm-hmm. Make sure there's a fit. Make sure that you fit where you fit.
I appreciate that because a lot of times as business owners, we can court the wrong corporations for years before we figure out or decide to ask that hard question, because you don't want to know that somebody can't use you. So I think that's really, really important.
One last thing that I want to say too, I think it's critically important when we're talking about self-assessment, be COVID ready, so identify those folks that can do those things, and that's not your specialty, but create those relationships so that when time comes and you need that, you're not new to them and they're not new to you.
And you're not starting over from the whole beginning of the story, that they've seen you grow, they've seen your developments.
Exactly. Just like you, I remember the day I met you. I remember it so vividly, and I was so proud to be able to adjudicate on your behalf with Disney. And when I came out of there, I was like, this girl is ready for prime time, and to see your growth and development and what you do and your ability to give back. See, that's the other part to it. The Lord can't bless you if you're not giving back. Mm-hmm. He's expecting us to take care of each other. And so again, thank you for this opportunity to be able to talk about what's critically important. And what's important is for us to take care of each other.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
You give from a place of abundance, right? When
No
your cup
question.
runneth
Yeah.
over, you have to share that abundance.
Yeah.
And that is truly the road to recovery. You cannot do it alone. If you are an
Yeah.
established or emerging entrepreneur, reach out. I love that Robin was encouraging us to create our communities, the
Mhm.
bankers, the lawyers, the HR, professionals, the Robins of the world, the
Yeah.
consultants that have the experience in these arenas that can coach you through and champion for you when needed to help you maintain the momentum, right? If you get up to 40 RPMs on a freeway,
Yeah.
you don't want to drop back to 25 or 10, right? You don't want that engine stalling on you. And so these are the tools, the resources that on the road to recovery, we just remind you of and can supply you with. So Robin, if anyone would like to engage with the Billups group, what's the best way for them to contact you or connect with
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm definitely on LinkedIn. Robin M. Billups on LinkedIn. And my email is rmbillups@outlook.com.
you for joining us today. Thank you for helping us navigate the road to recovery with our business assessments, our preparation, and our implementation. I thank you for your time and
Thank
look
you.
forward for you joining us on the next discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're
Vote and census.
welcome.